Alright, so welcome to another Infinity Kingdom guide. In this one, we're gonna do something different. I'm getting a lot of requests from players saying, "Hey, would you take a look at this march, or would this passive work for this setup? And how do I make a secondary setup based on this main guide? And what about third marches and all that kind of thing?" And I love it. I like getting all these questions because I'm a huge nerd and I like talking Infinity Kingdoms. Keep them coming, but it also got me thinking. Maybe we should try and do some of these player requests as actual guides, because there are probably more players out there doing something similar, or at least something where the same ideas and concepts can be applied. So, some players are new to the game, some players need guides on progress, and other players have solid game sense and are looking for sparring on, what are good ideas for their march and setups and builds. There are many different players, many different skill levels. However, I think that common for each and every single one of us is a pretty simple thing, that we all benefit from having more eyes commenting and discussing our builds and build decisions. Therefore, I know that my best builds are ones that I've been, have been picked to pieces by other players and then put back together after hours of critique, testing, and discussion. And as such, I've kind of come up with this new concept for IKEA wiki guides. Let me know if you guys like this kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'll stick to the regular content. But what I'm gonna try and do is occasionally share some of these discussions that I've had with other players. You should all join the discussion and keep it going on Discord. And if you have recommendations for these builds and these guides, do join in there, because it's always nice with a lively discussion. There's for sure things that I can learn as well. But what I'm gonna do is do a guide that springs from a conversation I had with, it's an ongoing thing I've had with a player, Angry Beaver, from server 135. He's a really awesome dude. He sent me his marches, and together we've been theory crafting and testing stuff out, and landed on 3 new build compositions. That means we're gonna do a main. It's gonna be Earth Khan. We're gonna do a secondary, which is gonna be fire, dual mage fire and shadow for second and third. Which one is actually the second team is unclear, because we are actually doing a quite nice synergy passive fit, meaning that they're pretty close in power, and we have some very good passives left for both the second and third team, because we are building our main in a pretty unique way. Or at least we are, we're going attack speed, which is something that other builds doesn't benefit from, leaving a lot of synergy. But more on that later. What's important is that this guide is going to be 3 builds that fit together, and as such, I hope that more players can enjoy it. First of all, I think that it's important to note that these builds and ideas are setups that this is what the player was running to begin with. This is what Angry Beaver asked me about. Here's my setups. Could you please help me improve them, right? And I think it's important to note that it's actually some quite good setups that he began with, which made it my job a whole lot easier and our discussion a whole lot quicker. But we are gonna make a few changes, and we are gonna reinforce some core concepts and ideas about these marches and improve them quite successfully. For one, we're going to be building a main Earth Khan. It's going to be all the best passives that we can put on it. It's going to be our main march. Moreover, we're going to build that as a physical attack speed build, reliant on Alex DPS, Khan wounds to kill our enemy and negate all healing. That means that we're going to be using Berserk, and that we're going to be using Speed Blessing to gain the full synergy of Alexander's ability, especially since this player, Angry Beaver, also has Alexander's unique artifact. That means the effectiveness of Berserk and Speed Blessing and just attack speed scaling is a whole lot stronger. Stacking attack speed as much as we can is an awesome strategy for Alex-centric setup, and with the unique, it is the best scaling immortal in the game for attack speed. Moreover, an additional advantage of doing this kind of attack speed build is that we're freeing up quite a lot of passives for our Shadow and our Fire team, because no one else really benefits very well from Berserk, Speed Blessing, and stuff like that. So that means that these passives are not useless on anywhere else, but they are far superior on the Earth card mix that we're trying to build out here. And that means that our Fire and Shadow team is going to be run at, like I said, quite a high fighting strength. In fact, as I said to begin with, I think that it's fair to actually consider both of these marches secondaries, because they will for sure bring a powerful fight to any enemy and perform very well, especially in rally situations. For the Shadow team, we have already got a build that kind of, as you can see, attempts to balance out some defense with some crit and proc offense, kind of going in a couple different directions. Now what we're going to fine tune is the defensive capabilities of the Shadow team. We're going to make a defensive Shadow wall. We're going to stack up defense, and we're going to pump and dump offensive passives into our Fire team instead. That means that we're going to get a lot more. We're going to retain troop count on our Shadow and get more power out of, instead of doing damage, we're going to do defense, get more power out of the attaining high troop counts and abusing the fact that the immortals natively are extremely powerful. So, without passives, but simply by retaining troop count, the Shadow will perform very well. Contrary, the Fire team is going to be pumping out massive damage because it scales far better with these pump and dump passives, the offensive passives that we're going to load in there. Just for transparency's sake, we're also going to have a look at the dragons that Angry Beaver has running for him. These are what is available to this player. They're quite close and the Shadow's slightly behind, but solid enough for good setup. The Fire is at a solid level. It's got 1 rank, the next level of dragon talent abilities. The Earth is clearly the main and is being focused as it should be. Angry Beaver is gonna be. I'll recommend him to continue building the Earth Dragon, completing that out for your main and then moving on for Fire Shadow slowly. There's a nice synergy to having a regular element and a spender element as the second and third. That is, of course, if you are a just light mid spender, whatever, simply because you can progress both dragons at the same time. You're not going to be, if you're trying to do both Shadow and Holy at the same time, you're going to be either forced to be a huge whale, or you're going to be you're going to be stuck at a medium level for a while. Having a Fire in there means that you can free to play grind that one out, and the Shadow you can slowly spend on, or like Holy, if that's your thing. So that brings us to the important stuff. We've gone over what the players got going for him, what Angry Beaver got, and now we're gonna improve it. So the players, like I said, Angry Beaver has 3 solid setups, but we can make quite some refined changes. Basically change some stuff around, making the Shadow more slow build, tanky sustain setup, taking advantage of Bjorn and playing into the inherent ramp up nature of the Shadow team, retaining troop counts, abusing superior ultimate abilities. Moreover, we're doing a max burst crit Fire build, dual Mage Fire. The Fire team should perform especially well when used in crit with the crit combat buffs active and crit talents, as well as VIP level 15, 13 at least, but 15 is going to be a boost as well. Note that this player enters once Angry Beaver enters Conquest stage, when he what is it, season 2, I think, where Trajan is being unlocked, then William should be replaced on that side. So we're gonna stick to doing an Earth Khan main. We're gonna be doing Shadows and dual Mage Fire. For the Earth, What you want to do is change a few things. So we are going to be running Cena with Berserk, Absolute Defense, and Assist, making her, use the Aura slot. You need Berserk, of course. And besides that, we're going to hard support our Genghis Khan, who's going to be one of our massive damage dealers. Khan is going to be run with Anger, Death Breath, and Speed Blessing. Charles will be run with Adrenaline Rush, Oaken Guard, and Coercion. Beware that if you have, finished out Dragon Talons, you're fighting at such a high accuracy level, maybe your artifact has accuracy as well on Khan and Alex, you may be able to achieve hit cap without Coercion. If so, you can swap into something like Malice or Shelter, depending on who you are fighting. And that means you can move Coercion into the Shadow team instead of either Malice or Shelter, where Coercion is going to be performing quite nicely, because Secret and Bathory needs this as well. Lastly, on Alex, you're going to be running Dual Master, Cleave, and a Physical Shield. Dual Master is a key passive here because it negates the effect of wounds. That means fighting enemy Earthwind hybrids, other Khan marches, kin winds, not such a big deal unless they are running the dodge build. That can provide problems, but mainly it's going to be hybrids and Khans that can be an issue. Running Dual Master negates that and allows your Alex to stay high on troop count and deal a lot more damage winning that one-on-one. That being said, if you are the kind of player who likes to swap out passives all the time, fighting against non-wounds setups, you might want to swap out Dual Master for something like Heavenly Thunder or a combo in there. And you can just swap Dual Master down to Secret. For the Shadow team, you're going to be, like I said, running a more defensive ramp up team. Shadow natively is a ramp team, and to sort of fit with that, we're going to be doing this defensive setup that protects your troop count, especially early on in the fight. So for Bathory, you want to run Fighting Master, get that control immunity, extremely powerful against water and earth especially. You'll want to run Chaotic Blade and Paralysis. Paralysis should be noted, it's a hard counter to Earthwind Hybrid, and a passive that you can also swap around if you need to. Himiko runs with Misleading, get that dodge in. That fits nicely with the after image that we're going to be running on Bjorn. You need to stack both of these in the same march to provide enough dodge chance, a chance to miss, that that the native accuracy doesn't just counter it, or having Coercion doesn't just counter it. You need to stack them up. You also want to run Toxic Nova and Fire Nova on Himiko, get that ramp up dot damage. Siegfried, you want to run Resist, Magical Defense. You want to run Malice, again more defense, and especially protecting against those big crits means that pump and dump builds, facing enemy fires is not going to be as troublesome. You also want Fight and Will, which gives us that nice ability to turn an enemy advantage against themselves. On Bjorn, like I said, you want to run After Image to get that dodge synergy with Misleading. You want to run Shelter and you want to run Lifelink. In this build, Bjorn is going to be staying alive for forever, and he's going to be dealing a lot of damage through lifelink, especially against certain setups. Dual Mage Fire build, the last build, is going to be run with Baldwin, so we're running fire but with Baldwin, hence Dual Mage. Baldwin, you want to run Concentration, Root, yes, Root. It's a blue passive, I know, but it is insane. It deals very, very high damage, and the added control effect is just extremely powerful. You want to run Blessing and Defense here as well. Note that the Blessing effects on a fire team is superior value simply because they trigger the Dragon skill for increased damage. For Wu, you want to run Chase, Annihilation, and Rage. Rage getting that extra crit, meaning that you will end up likely have running crit buffs and having VIP up and all that jazz. We're also running weakness here on William. You're gonna be able to achieve something like 60 to 70% crit, which is just massive and ensures consistent chase procs via Annihilation and Wu's ultimate. Because we are stacking a crit here, we want to run Hippolyta with Energy Burst. Moreover, to begin with, Hippo is actually a very, very powerful model for this build because we are building for energy and energy management, meaning we will pump out superior with the Energy Burst on her and crit. Then you're gonna get a lot of procs from her ultimate ability. You're also running energy suppression on her, meaning that you're suppressing the enemy energy region, adding, synergizing extremely well with Hippo's ability, which also reduces enemy energy. And in that way, you could really put a damper on the enemy's ability to cast ultimates. She's a very underrated immortal and one that I think definitely fits in here. So you want to run her with Energy Burst, Energy Suppression, and Garrote. Garrote ensures those Energy Burst procs. That and her ultimate ability means that Energy Burst is going to be on running internal cooldown at all times, giving you the best and the highest energy region possible in the game. This setup in a crit build is stronger than running Adrenaline Rush and Rage Blessing. For William, our last man, we are running Weakness, Rage Blessing, and Blessing and Wall. Again, the blessings provide the Dragon buff, very nice, gives her that added damage. Weakness is a requirement because we're running Energy Burst on our Hippo, and we're running Chase Rage on our Wu, meaning that the crit is really all we're going for. Because we are running so much crit and because we're doing Rage and Chase, we should also be looking to replace William when Trajan is available. Having Trajan in there improves your crit and crit damage quite significantly, and that will work very nicely towards your Hippo energy management setup here as well. Getting fast energy on Hippo and reducing the enemy energy region. Very powerful pump and dump setup. So that's it. That's all 3 builds. These are extremely powerful in themselves, and the Angry Beaver has gotten back to me as we talked since doing these builds, and his arena rank is increasing. He's made the furthest Throne of the Supreme runs ever. The marches are performing very well, and in fact there was a funny note from him that some enemy whale that he's been fighting with and losing to for a while actually pleaded that we would not do a guide for the shadow setup because it kicks his ass. So I think it's safe to say that these setups and improvements performs quite well, and I hope that you enjoy this kind of content. I think that there are people out there who want to see more stuff like this with, a main Mage and a second and third. How do they fit together? How do we conceptually think about composing setups like this? If that's the case, do hit me up. Do let me know. Otherwise, that's it for this 3 Mage guide. As always, please do subscribe to the channel. I consistently release new content here on the IK channel and on the official IK Wiki website. Links are in the description. On these channels you can find guides from everything in IK, from events to talents, passives, finished builds and game mechanics. With that, I'm gonna leave you, and as always, thank you for watching and see you for the next one.